Chapter 135, Snake Eyes. Top of a cell tower in Seongnan City. A woman casually put her hand on the railing. The breeze brushed over the black curly hair, revealing a charming face. A pair of strange vertical eyes quietly watching the gradual awakening of the city, half smiling. Hum. Cell phones vibrate and ring. She took out her mobile phone, answered the call, and spoke lazily. The few people installed in the training camp have been exposed. Yuan Gang has already left the camp and there is not much time for you. A deep male voice rang on the other end of the line. The woman held her chin with her other hand and opened her mouth. Is it too early to finish? I haven't had enough fun yet. Snake woman, I think I need to remind you that you did not come to Seongnan for fun. The man's voice grew serious. Lin Chia is the first double god agent in history. If it is really impossible to recruit him into our ancient god church, we must not let him continue to live in this world. Otherwise, we will have a more difficult opponent than the king's face in the future. The king's face. The last time he almost cut me in half. There's no such thing as a man who doesn't know anything about sex. The snake woman sighed. You are still a new person who just joined the Church of Ancient God, and the realm is not high. This contact with Lin Chia must be based on solicitation. If it is unable to solicit, let Han Xiaoyun directly. Be sure to kill him on the spot. With Han Xiaoyun's fighting force, this Seongnan City, only Yuan Gang can defeat him positively, but when the time comes, someone will help you stall Yuan Gang. In addition to Han Xiaoyun and Yuan Gang, the city is also hiding a sea. Snake Woman's eyes narrowed slightly. Yes, but he can't hold Yuan Gang too long, leaving you little time. No. Snake Woman slowly stood straight from the railing, stretched a stretch, a pair of snake eyes, vertical pupils staring at a small store in the distance. Seems to think of something interesting, mouth raised a strange arc. Double agent sounds like an interesting man. After sweeping the snow, Lin Chia turned and walked into the office, picked up the 2 black boxes in the corner, hesitated for a moment, and grabbed some New Year goods from the table in his pocket. Heading out? Chinmai asked from the kitchen. Lin 7 Nights nodded. Is to worship a new year. The explosion that had just happened in the Love Hotel was still haunting Lin 7 Nights. Although he did not think that the little fat man would happen, but it was better to go and see. If nothing happens, just like he said, drop in for a New Year's. Of course, there is a more important point. Since tomorrow is the last day of the holiday, those who are in the dark must have been unable to resist, and they can also test their bottom line by slipping out a circle. If there is really a strong enemy, Lin 7 Nights is not afraid. Backhand Nyx released directly the night flicker to run away. But Nyx's divine power is easy to cause the night watchman's commotion if not necessary. He did not want to use Nyx. Chinmai did not stop Lin Chia but gently nodded. Well, you go. Lin 7 Nights, carrying a black box and New Year goods, softly through the snoring restaurant, pushed the door out. After he left, Wu Xiangnan, who has been lying on the sofa like a dead dog, slowly opened his eyes, sat up from the sofa, and Chinmai looked at each other after a slap to wake up the warm Chima beside him. Lin 7 Nights from the peace office left, then went straight towards the direction of the Love Hotel. The original lively street at this time has been quiet down. Around the dazzling shops all closed the door. The door is also affixed with a new blessing. The store people have already packed up everything, go home for the new year. From time to time a few cars passed by, shaking a few groups of snow on the side of the road. Lin Chia, wrapped in a scarf, turned into another remote path, and the world was completely quiet. It was a long old road with low dark houses on either side, the mossy walls carved with the marks of age, and the bare tree trunks along the road like dark brown thorns piercing furiously into the sky. The Love Hotel where they live is not very far away from the Peace Bridge, and it is only 10 minutes walk in the past, but as the road goes further and further, I do not know why, Lin 7 Nights' heart becomes more and more uneasy. But where this sense of unease comes from, Lin 7 Nights could not say. Finally he stopped. On the quiet sidewalk, Lin Kinite frowned as if sensing something. After a while he turned to look at the abandoned low building on the right side, and reached out his hand slowly to touch the wall of the low building. He dabbed his hands with snow and brushed the dust and moss over the walls. A moment later an eerie crack appeared on the surface. This crack seems to be formed naturally, closed into a narrow semicircle, and in between the semicircle, there are several cracks staggered. At first glance seems to be nothing. But if you look carefully, this pattern like an eye? A long, narrow, demonic snake eye. This is Lin Seven Knight's frown more and more tight. He squatted down with the black box to sweep away the snow at his feet. In the sidewalk where he stood, I do not know when also covered with this strange snake eyes. These snake eyes are made of black lines like charcoal, like natural stains. Snake eyes are large and small only the size of your thumb and large enough to cover the size of a manhole, dense everywhere. Lin Seven Knights will be spiritual force fully developed, face more and more solemn up. The branches along the road stretch out and from a specific angle they are snake eyes. The snow swept by the sanitation workers beside the sidewalk has melted most of the remaining snow on the ground, also in the shape of a snake's eye. On the surface of the low old houses standing around, the eyes of snakes gradually appeared in strange forms. Even the winter sun hanging in the sky I do not know when also evolved into the shape of a snake eye. This street has become a snake eyes of the world. Lin Chia finally knew where his uneasy feeling came from. This is Forbidden Ruins? His eyes were tinged with a touch of gold, and he bent down to put down his New Year's shopping, clasping his two black boxes in his hands, and observing everything around him warily. Suddenly, a figure slowly walked across the sidewalk from him. It was a woman, black curly long hair, naturally scattered shoulders, in the breeze like a twisted black snake eerily swinging, the evil snake eyes quietly watching Lin Chia. The corners of her mouth turned up slightly as if she were smiling. Chapter 136 Abnormal Girl. Someone from the Church of the Old God? Lin Seven Knights looked at the snake woman, frown open. The snake woman carefully looked at him a few eyes, covering her mouth and chuckling. It seems that the rumored double god agent is not only bluffing but also really handsome. Lin Seven Knights did not pay attention to her teasing, but silently mobilized their own spiritual force, always ready to open to the dark god market. If he guessed correctly when he walked along this road, he had unknowingly stepped into the other side's forbidden ruins, and combined with the snake eyes and the recognizable image, the identity of the other side has been revealed. She is a member of the Church of Ancient God who attacked the missile base before. Medusa Agent, code name, Snake Woman. Seems that this time really caught a big fish. Are you here to kill me? Lin Chia's voice is very calm. Kill you? He Snake Woman ing wriggling water snake slender waist, not slow to Lin Chia close, every frown and smile charming. In fact, I didn't want to recruit you, they want you, this unprecedented two-god agent, but I don't care. For me personally, kill a genius in the cradle is the real thing to please me. But now I've changed my mind. She walked up to Lin Chia, the tip of her scarlet tongue licking her lips, a pair of charming snake eyes smile bent into a crescent moon. She gently stretched out a hand, want to touch Lin Chia's cheek. It would be a shame to ruin such a beautiful face. Victor. At the moment of her eyes blurred, two crisp knife sounds at the same time. Lin Chia holds the straight knife that pops out from the black box, and the cold on flashes in her eyes. The light blue blade cuts the snake woman's throat like lightning. Lin Seven Knights can tolerate this woman to molest himself now. Nature is not unreasonable. He does not understand the forbidden market of the snake woman. If the beginning of the rash, the probability of success is very low. After all, he does not have many means of remote attack. There is no certainty of killing. But now the snake woman himself came to his front. The hand can have a miracle effect. Two cold on one left and one right, cut out at the same time. In the blade is about to cross the throat of the snake female moment. Her body suddenly twisted, even directly dissipated in place. Cut. A lonely Lin Seven Knights frown. The next moment quickly turned around, looked up to the side behind the tree. On the dark brown tree trunk, which was interlaced with thorns, the snake woman was sitting there smiling, not only with no anger in the vertical eyes, but with strange excitement. She held a hiltless blade in her hand, tossed it lightly and caught it with a steady, unfocused grace. How rude. She put her chin on her other hand. She opened her mouth. And you wouldn't hear me out? I'm not interested. High cold domineering Seo type. He. Snake woman licked her lips, eyes emerge a strange light. To be my slave, surrender to my feet. I will use my noble and beautiful feet, mercilessly ravage your body and dignity, let you get supreme pleasure. Oh. Just thinking about it makes me I'm so excited. Snake woman's eyes grew more and more excited, her bright red lips rose frantically, her body involuntarily twisted, and her face appeared strange flush. Lin Chia's eyes narrowed slightly. This woman. Is he a pervert? What are you hesitating about? The snake woman opened her arms and gently swung down from the tree trunk, her legs hooked like the tail of the snake, her neck twisted over 180 degrees, her seducing face appeared on the backside, excited to look at the upside-down Lin Chia. How many men dream of this? To be my slave, not only to have me to enjoy the greatest pleasures, but also to join the church of the ancient gods and become a god over thousands in the dark ages of the future. 7 nights, 7 nights. That's a beautiful name. I can already imagine me taking your clothes off, stepping on your head, screaming your name. Come on. Kneel at my feet, kiss my toes, be my slave. Swish. A sharp blade flashed and the mad snake woman disappeared again, the blade cutting through the air with a slight hum. Lin Chia, calm face, holding a straight knife, turned to look behind himself. He saw the snake woman standing a few meters away from him. The flush on his face gradually faded, the expression gradually cold. You will reject me. Not only will I refuse you. Lin 7 Nights, holding the knife, faintly said, I will kill you. Snake woman's face is completely gloomy down, snake eyes vertical pupil cold looking at Lin 7 Nights. After a moment, the mouth emerged with a ferocious smile. Then you die. The words fell, the whole street of the snake eye pattern at the same time lit up red light, dense covering everything around. The sun in the sky has disappeared, the strange red light covering the world. Snake woman's eyes emerge evil dark light. The black hair on the shoulders are like to come to life, more and more thick, more and more long, like a black python in the blood of the world wiggly. At the same time, a patch of extreme darkness centered on the 7 nights of the forest swirled around, gradually encroaching on this blood-colored, snake-eyed street. The snake woman forbidden market is too strange. Lin Chia at this time, if not open the forbidden market, fighting in the other side's home field, will be completely passive. Although the scope of the dark god market is not as large as the snake eyes street, but at least it belongs to the forest Chia side of the world. In the red street, a black world is embedded in it which is incompatible with it. The snake woman's body shook, dissipated in the same place. Lin 7 Nights, as if an unknown prophet sighed, a handlesless blade brushed past, only to stab his heart. Teleport? These 2 words flashed in the heart of Lin 7 Nights. The snake woman has disappeared without warning for 3 consecutive times, and appeared without warning. If not, Lin 7 Nights has mental force to perceive the surrounding situation, coupled with the speed of the star dancer. At this moment only afraid has been hit. The 2 straight blades criss-crossed, and the snake woman's handlesless blade turned gently between her hands, blocking the attacks of the 2 straight blades. Lin Chia's eyes appeared a touch of night and then his brow wrinkled. He tried to use dark erosion to control the handlesless blade in the hands of the snake woman, but never eroded half a minute. It is like a dark insulator no matter how hard Lin 7 Nights cannot control. Snake teeth? Lin Chia's spiritual force carefully swept the handleless blade and finally identified its true face. This is supposed to be a forbidden thing that belongs only to Medusa's agents. Knife and teeth collide together, the body of the 2 people extremely close. At this time, the snake woman's neck twisted through a strange arc, turned to the front of Lin 7 Nights. A black light bloomed from her eyes. Come to look me in the eye. Chapter 137. The Battle of the Serpent Woman. Look into your eyes. Am I crazy to look into your eyes? Lin Chia shut his eyes without a second thought. Medusa is such a well-known mythological creature, and Lin Chia was well aware of her. Even though he didn't know how much of that turn anyone who meets her gaze into stone ability her serpent-like representative had inherited, it was always better to be cautious. As long as he avoided eye contact, she couldn't do anything to him. Fighting with his eyes closed might be extremely difficult for others, but for Lin Chia, it posed no challenge at all. With his mortal god domain, he had long since stopped relying on his eyes to gather information. Serpent Woman. Seeing one of her signature abilities brushed aside so easily, the serpent woman became enraged. The black pythons formed from her hair hissed and surged toward Lin Chia. Lin Chia parried the serpent woman's blade without a handle and swiftly retreated. The black pythons rapidly swelled after leaving her proximity, each as thick as a water barrel, and with just a slight nudge they severed nearby trees in half. Faced with the oncoming wave of massive black pythons, Lin Chia moved like a drifting leaf in the wind, narrowly avoiding their bites with each step. In mere moments he had retreated dozens of meters. His expression grew increasingly serious. The serpent woman's techniques were strange and varied, ghost-like teleportation, petrifying serpent eyes, the mysterious venomous snake fangs, and the countless black pythons sprouting from her head. Fortunately, her power level wasn't high. Judging by the strength of her mental energy, she seemed to be in the pond realm just like him. But if they were both at the pond level, why was her forbidden domain able to cover such a vast area, spanning an entire street? Typically, the size of a forbidden domain correlates with the user's ability. The stronger the power, the smaller the domain. After reaching the pond realm, Lin Chia's mortal god domain had a range of 100 meters, while the darkest god domain only extended 50 meters. Yet the serpent woman's strange domain covered at least 300 meters. What was the purpose of this domain? As Lin Chia pondered this, the serpent woman's figure vanished again. In an instant she appeared on an old wall beside him, pushed off forcefully with her legs, and shot toward Lin Chia like an arrow. The straight blade collided with the serpent fangs without any frills, producing a piercing screech. Lin Chia's tightly shut eyes darkened. At the same moment, a fallen tree trunk levitated from the ground and shot toward the serpent woman. The sharp branches resembled spears, disturbing the snakes on her head and knocking her off course. Lin Chia swiftly swung his second straight blade. Swish! The blade flashed, and though the serpent woman twisted her body like a water snake to dodge it, a large portion of her serpent hair was cut off, drifting to the ground as severed strands. The serpent woman jumped and landed atop another tree, coiling around the trunk like a serpent. Lin Chia, with his eyes still closed, slightly tilted his head and scanned the spot where she had just appeared. Seeming to realize something, a smile crept across his face. He understood. Courting death. The serpent woman ran her fingers over her severed hair, her killing intent intensifying. She spun the blade in her palm and vanished again. In that instant, Lin Chia reversed his grip on his blade and stabbed backward into the air behind him. The next moment, the serpent woman appeared right in front of his blade. Ding! A soft chime rang out as serpent scales materialized on her chest, absorbing most of the blade's force, but the tip still pierced through the scales, lightly puncturing her body. The serpent woman's pupils shrank. Without a moment to think, she vanished again, reappearing atop a low house several dozen meters away. Clutching the wound on her chest, she glared at Lin Chia with fury in her eyes. You! Lin Chia, gripping his blade with his eyes shut, walked calmly toward her in the dim light of night. At first I thought those strange serpent eyes on the street were just a trick to scare people, until I realized that they were the core of your power. The serpent eyes on the ground in the snow formed by tree branches and etched into the cracks of walls. Your teleportation isn't random. You can only appear where those serpent eyes are located. Once I knew that the threat you pose was greatly reduced. Standing beneath the building where the serpent woman perched, Lin Chia spoke calmly. I guess your forbidden domain, no, your god domain, allows you to create serpent eye patterns wherever you can reasonably do so and then use them to teleport, giving the illusion of instantaneous movement. At least at your current level, that's the extent of your god domain's power. Now that I've uncovered your teleportation secret, with only those snakehair pythons and your clumsy combat skills, you're no match for me. As for your petrifying serpent eyes. Lin Chia slowly opened his eyes. His left eye glowed red-hot like fire while his right was pitch black as ink. A sacred aura emanated from him, a balance of both heat and darkness. You can try. Let's see who turns to stone first, me or you. One glowing eye and one dark eye met the serpent woman's gaze. The divine power of three gods clashed in that instant. In the blink of an eye, the serpent woman's mind felt like it had been torn apart by the two opposing forces. The pain was excruciating and she spat out a mouthful of blood, her face turning deathly pale. Ah! She clutched her eyes in agony as two streams of blood flowed from between her fingers. Lin Chia's divine power receded as he looked at his arm. A few patches of gray had already appeared on his skin, and as he rubbed them lightly, he realized they were numb. So this is the petrifying eye. It's terrifying, but with her current power, for the serpent woman to fully petrify someone of Lin Chia's caliber in the pond realm, it would take at least 10 seconds of eye contact. Given Lin Chia's divine powers, she wouldn't last more than 5 seconds. Taking advantage of the serpent woman's confusion and disorientation, the darkness around Lin Chia intensified. He lightly tapped the ground with his toes and floated up like a ghost, landing on the roof where the serpent woman stood. With a flicker of his form, his blade flashed toward her neck. At this point, the serpent woman had already collapsed in pain. She saw Lin Chia's attack out of the corner of her eye but was too slow to respond. Her snake-like eyes were filled with boundless hatred. Clay. Just as the blade was about to sever the serpent woman's head, a silver spear blocked Lin Chia's attack. Frowning, Lin Chia looked over to see a man in his 30s. With a light shake of his spear, the man forced Lin Chia back several steps. His blood surged and a trickle of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Hello." The man stood in front of the serpent woman, a spear strapped to his back, and calmly addressed Lin Chia with a polite tone. "I am Han Shaoyun, the 13th seat of the believers." Chapter 138. Who dares to seek death? Believer? Lin Chia steadied himself, feeling his heart sink. Just from that one strike, Lin Chia could clearly perceive the gap between them. The man standing before him was undoubtedly at the peak of the Chuan realm, possibly even at the High realm. With such a massive disparity in strength, combined with the man's identity as a believer, Lin Chia's situation became extremely perilous. Once again, the roles of prey and hunter had been reversed. The snake woman stood behind Han Shaoyun, finally recovering from the shadow cast by the double divine powers, her snake eyes icy cold. "You may leave." Han Shaoyun turned his head slightly to glance at the snake woman and spoke calmly. The snake woman nodded slightly, shot Lin Chia one last cold look, then huffed and vanished from Lin Chia's perception range with her snake-eye teleportation. As the snake woman left, the red glow covering the entire street gradually faded, and the snake-eye patterns that had spread across the area vanished as if they had never been there. The marks on the ground, the intertwined branches and the cracks on the walls. Once the snake woman's divine domain disappeared, the reasonable formations of these snake-eye patterns reverted to their original forms. Although the oppressive presence of the divine domain had disappeared, Lin Chia's unease had not subsided in the slightest. He knew the seemingly refined, harmless man before him was far more dangerous than the snake woman who had just fled. "Are you here to recruit me as well?" As Lin Chia spoke, he simultaneously directed his consciousness into the mental hospital inside his mind. Facing an enemy of this caliber, Lin Chia had no chance of winning. The only option left was to summon Nyx. However, Nyx's divine core was damaged, and her current battle strength was uncertain. Whether she could defeat this man was still unknown. Thus, using Night Flash to escape seemed like the best option. If his guess was correct, besides the snake woman who just fled, this man in front of him was likely the most critical player in this attack. Driving away the snake woman and drawing out such a significant enemy was already a victory for him. "I'm afraid not. I'm not here to recruit you." Han Shaoyun gently shook his head, spinning his halberd with a flick. A powerful whirlwind erupted from him as the center. "I'm here to kill you." Lin Chia's eyebrows furrowed. At the same time, he successfully communicated with Nyx in the mental hospital. Just as he was about to summon her, something unexpected happened. A faint ripple emanated from 3 directions, and the sky seemed to be covered by an invisible canvas. The surrounding space gently trembled before settling again as if nothing had happened. "This is..." Lin Chia, witnessing this, seemed to realize something and a glint of excitement appeared in his eyes. Han Shaoyun tilted his head back to gaze at the sky, his brows furrowing slightly. Night Watchman, boundaryless domain. Amid the snowstorm. From the far end of the street, 6 figures cloaked in dark red slowly walked through the deserted snow-covered street. A breeze blew, knocking off the hood of the person leading the group. Qin Mushi raised his head slightly, his sharp gaze landing on Han Shaoyun as his hands rested on the hilt of his blade. In the wind, his voice rang out clearly and deeply. "Squad 136 is fully assembled. Who dares to seek death?" Boom. On the frozen canal, a shadow shot down like a cannonball, shattering the ice as it plunged into the frigid waters. 2 more figures flew out from midair, one wreathed in flames, the other riding a gust of wind, both charging at the man in the center. Fire and wind mixed into a whirlwind, enveloping the man within. The next moment, a dark light burst from inside, tearing through the fiery vortex. The man grinned, his figure instantly appearing before the fire wielder, his hand wrapped in dark energy. With one strike he sent them crashing into the canal below. In the distance by Li Pang Pang, crouching in a corner watching the fight, gulped. Your bodyguard squad seems to be losing, Chow Yuan remarked, holding his blade with a soft sigh. Spit spit spit. Shut your crow mouth. Bai Li Pang Pang shuddered, covering Chow Yuan's mouth with a scowl and whispering curses. Damn it! Where did this high-realm maniac come from chasing me to the death? The four wielders of forbidden artifacts, even when working together, could only barely match a high-realm opponent. If this fight kept going at this pace, all four of them and us were doomed. Shin Qingju thought for a moment. How about settling the bill for the past 2 days first? Splash. A massive water dragon burst from the frozen canal. The water wielder, frowning, supported the injured fire wielder as they landed safely on the nearby ground. The man chuckled coldly, changing direction mid-air. Enveloped in dark energy, he slammed toward the two of them on the ground. At the same time, the earth seemed to come alive, raising a wave of sand and stones to counter the man's attack. Like a bullet, the man broke through the wave, his eyes sharp as he grasped the earth wielder's throat hidden in the sand. Spinning in midair, he violently smashed them into the ground, creating a massive crater. Dust billowed everywhere. The man slowly walked through the cloud of dust, heading straight for Bai Li Pang Pang's hiding spot. After only a few steps, 3 battered figures appeared before him. The heavily injured fire wielder, wind wielder and water wielder. As for the earth wielder, they had completely lost consciousness after the last blow. The Bai Li family's wielders of forbidden artifacts are nothing impressive. The man sneered. In this state you still want to stop me? The 3 wielders were silent, but their actions spoke volumes about their resolve. Fine, fine. The man's palm lit up with dark energy as he took one step after another toward the 3. Wait. Hold on, brave warrior. At this moment, a rotund figure stumbled out, standing in front of the 3 wielders. Great warrior, tell me, how much were you paid to take this job? The Bai Li family will pay double. No, we'll pay triple. Bai Li Pang Pang raised 3 fingers with a serious expression. 1E. The man sneered. Do you think I'm the kind of person who lacks money? Then you... Just as the man was about to respond, he suddenly froze, turning to look behind him. Unnoticed, a middle-aged man in military uniform had appeared. A dominating aura radiated from him, oppressing the entire battlefield. His gaze was calm like a deep pool, or a volcano on the verge of eruption. He was the commander of the training camp, and also the vice-captain of the night watchmen stationed in Shangjing City, Yuan Gang. Hey, you're finally here, the man grinned as though his plan had succeeded. You've been recklessly releasing high-realm energy, even sacrificing your own life force, just to chase down Bai Li Tuming. Was it all to lure me here? Yuan Gang narrowed his eyes slightly. And what if it was? The man grinned. Now that you're here, you definitely won't be able to leave for a while. And then your people will have the chance to send another high realm to kill Lin Chia, right? Yuan Gang sneered, his eyes glinting with disdain. What makes you think that in this city of Tsongnan I, Yuan Gang, am the only one capable of killing a high realm foe? Chapter 139. Han Xiaoyun in the Wind and Snow. The night watchman squad stationed in Tsongnan City. Han Xiaoyun's gaze swept over everyone, shaking his head. A night watchman squad from a 3rd-tier city can't do anything to me. The night watchman system assigns 1 squad per city, and the more important the city, the stronger the squad's average strength. For example, the 006 squad stationed in the capital city of Shangjing is made up of elite individuals who are all at the Sea Realm, and their combat power even exceeds some special squads, making them a truly top-notch team. However, Tsongnan City, being a typical 3rd-tier city, has a night watchman squad with limited strength. After all, cities of this level are numerous nationwide. Tsongnan City is actually quite decent. In more remote cities, a night watchman squad might not even have a member at the River Realm. In such a city, unless a special squad comes to aid, generally speaking, someone at the Sea Realm can run rampant. Nevertheless, considering the nationwide scope, Sea Realm experts are relatively few. Who would waste time trying to dominate a 3rd-tier city? Even if someone did, within 2 days a special squad would definitely come to teach them a lesson. Lin Chia saw the members of Team 136 and first felt a sense of surprise, then fell into worry. If it were just him, he could rely on Nix's night flicker to escape, but with so many people coming, how could he run? Was he supposed to abandon them and escape alone? Absolutely not. After such a long period of interaction for Lin Chia, the members of Team 136 were no longer just comrades. As Leng Xian said, this place had already become his second home. He wouldn't abandon his family. Lin Chia took a deep breath, silently gripped the hilt of his blade, and his eyes revealed a hint of determination. On the road below, Hong Ying lifted her dark red hood, her bright eyes smiling as she looked at Lin Chia. She extended her hand, happily waving at Lin Chia. "Little brother Chiek, we're here to rescue you." Seeing Hong Ying smiling so cheerfully in such a situation, Lin Chia's lips curved up slightly. "Idiot." He suddenly leaned backward, falling along the edge of the rooftop. Just before hitting the ground, he lightly tapped his toes, his figure vanishing like a ghost, and in a moment he was standing beside the others. Han Xiaoyun, holding his long spear, watched silently without making a move. Lin Chia stood beside Chen Mai, holding two knives, glanced at the imposing Han Xiaoyun and calmly said, "Captain, that's a Sea Realm expert." Chen Mai nodded. "I know. Can we defeat him? Let's try." "All right." Hearing Chen Mai's words, Han Xiaoyun, standing on the rooftop, shook his head again and said calmly, "With just 2 River Realm experts for Pool Realm experts and 1 ordinary person, you can't defeat me. There's no need for unnecessary sacrifices. I recognize you." Chen Mai suddenly spoke. "You are Han Xiaoyun, the former leader of the Night Watchman Squad in Gusu City." Han Xiaoyun was silent for a moment. "So what? You were once a leader. Why have you now become a lapdog for the ancient god cult?" Chen Mai's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand." Han Xiaoyun slowly closed his eyes, no longer looking directly at Chen Mai, his voice low and hoarse. "When you see your own team members dying one by one in front of you, perhaps you will understand my choice." Chen Mai frowned, about to say something when Han Xiaoyun spoke again. "I'll remind you once more, my target this time is only that young man. If you leave now, I won't make things difficult for you. Don't make unnecessary sacrifices." Chen Mai did not speak. He didn't need to speak, because everyone would understand his choice. Leng Xian lightly touched his waist, and a large grenade launcher appeared in his hand. In an instant he aimed it at Han Xiaoyun on the rooftop and pulled the trigger. Whoosh! A grenade was launched from Leng Xian's shoulder, trailing a white fiery tail, and shot straight towards Han Xiaoyun. Han Xiaoyun frowned and swung his long spear. Boom! The blinding flash of fire exploded in front of Han Xiaoyun, and as the intense blast wave was about to hit him, a strong gust of wind erupted from him, swirling the snow on the rooftop and forcefully deflecting all the explosive rounds. Almost simultaneously, a red tassel-long spear emerged from the black box behind Hong Ying. She grasped the spear with one hand, fiery pink flames erupted around her, and with a powerful push from her legs, she dashed towards Han Xiaoyun, leaving a magenta afterimage. After the grenade explosion, smoke filled the air, and in the wind and snow, a streak of crimson gunlight flashed. Han Xiaoyun sidestepped the spear tip with lightning speed, and the snowflakes swept up by the fierce wind danced around the spear's tip, suddenly sweeping across, slashing towards Hong Ying's waist. Just as the spear was about to fall, Han Xiaoyun's eyes saw Hong Ying transform into a 30-year-old woman in green clothes, with flowing hair, smiling eyes, and a gentle demeanor. Han Xiaoyun's pupils suddenly contracted, and his long spear momentarily halted in mid-air. Ching ching! His eyes grew dazed, but then clarity returned to his mind. Oh, is this a mental illusion type forbidden ruin? On the road, when Qima intertwined his fingers, forming a strange shape. He looked at Han Xiaoyun on the rooftop, his eyes flashing with unusual light. Han Xiaoyun suppressed the illusion with his overwhelming mental power. The green-clad woman vanished, and Hong Ying's figure reappeared. When Qima let out a muffled groan, beads of cold sweat forming on his forehead. Just that brief moment of delay allowed Hong Ying to adjust her spear, the spear tip blazing with fire, pointing directly at Han Xiaoyun's forehead. Han Xiaoyun's pupils narrowed, he snorted coldly, and his right foot stamped heavily on the ground. A violent wind and snow vortex erupted from him, easily blasting Hong Ying and her spear away, while the old building under his feet collapsed with a thunderous crash. Han Xiaoyun's figure landed steadily in the snow, his long spear pointing to the ground. The fierce wind cleared the rising dust and he walked out slowly. He stopped on the other side of the road, squinting slightly as he looked at the pale-faced Wen Qima. Forbidden Ruin Sequence 180, Heart Demon Binding. Wen Qima stood upright, chuckling lightly. It's not a particularly powerful forbidden ruin, but for someone like you who is haunted by heart demons, it seems unexpectedly effective. Is that so? Han Xiaoyun said calmly, lifting his long spear slightly. In the vast snowy landscape, swirling winds suddenly appeared, lifting the snow from the ground into the sky, blocking out the sun. Within 10 miles the snowstorm raged. Forbidden Ruin Sequence 079, Great Wind Disaster. Chapter 140. Black Impermanence. The wind roared, carrying snow that filled every corner, uprooting the trees along the road and tossing them around chaotically in the air. Not only that, bricks, street lamps, bicycles, billboards, countless objects were also lifted by the wind, tumbling through the stormy snow like clothes in a washing machine. In this 10-mile radius, it seemed like the apocalypse had arrived. If not for Team 130's excess large-scale no-space zone being set up around the area in advance, countless innocent people might have been caught up in this storm and met a tragic end. This was where the importance of the no-space zone became evident. Under this spatial canvas, no matter how intense the battle, it would not affect the outside world in the slightest. Lin Chia drove his straight knife into the ground to barely keep himself from being blown away by the strong wind. Everything around him was a blinding white, and it was difficult to see the situation clearly in such a snowstorm. This is the ultra-high-risk forbidden ruin of Sea Realm? It's terrifyingly extreme. Lin Chia furrowed his brow. In his spiritual perception, the members of Team 136 were also trapped by the blizzard. Fortunately, no one had been blown away. They remained in place, though they couldn't see each other. The distance between them was not far. Xiaonan. In the snowstorm, Wu Xiangnan's voice came through faintly. A faint white light emanated from Lin Chia's side, and he immediately felt his body sink as the resistance from the wind disappeared, as if a thin film had formed on his skin, perfectly countering the wind's force. Moreover, the vision obscured by the snow gradually became clearer. Lin Chia looked down and saw that his skin was also emitting a faint white glow. Wu Xiangnan, also glowing white, emerged from the snowstorm, completely unaffected by the surrounding gale, and walked over to see Xiaonan ruffling her hair. Well done. What is this? Lin Chia asked in confusion. No fate veil. It attaches to the surface of the skin, isolating the external environment from affecting oneself, and it also has healing properties and some defensive power. Si Xiaonan straightened up, giving a proud snort. Although it's not a particularly powerful forbidden ruin, it can still come in handy at critical moments. Under the protection of the no fate veil, the others also stood up, turning their gaze towards the figure slowly walking through the snow with a long spear. Han Xiaoyun looked at the unaffected people with some surprise, a trace of admiration in his eyes, but then as if thinking of something, his gaze darkened. Qin Mai stood at the forefront, hands resting on the hilt of his sword, his cloak billowing in the wind, his eyes calm as still water. Are you the team leader of this squad? Han Xiaoyun stood before Qin Mai. Yes. You are a competent leader. Han Xiaoyun paused and continued, more competent than me? I seem to have heard a bit about the Suzhou City Night Watch team. Qin Mai's voice drifted through the wind and snow. It is said that 5 years ago, the Suzhou City team faced the ancient deity church's whispers. Out of 8 team members, 3 died, 3 were seriously injured, and 1 was left with a lifelong disability. Team leader Han Xiaoyun went missing and reappeared 2 years later as a believer. Han Xiaoyun's brows slightly furrowed. What are you trying to say? I want to know, are you a true believer or a false believer? Qin Mai's eyes flashed with a glimmer. Did you join the believers with a hidden agenda? Are you? You're overthinking it. Han Xiaoyun calmly interrupted Qin Mai. Once you become a believer, you can only be a believer for life. Their soul contracts are even more terrifying than you imagine. No matter what intentions or goals you had before joining, once you sign the contract, they will vanish, completely becoming their puppet. Then you. If one day your team members are nailed to a cross, you only have 2 choices. Either fight to the death and die with your team, or abandon all dignity and freedom to save others. Which would you choose? Qin Mai's brows tightened. Did they force you to sign the contract with such methods? The methods of the ancient deity church are more brutal than you can imagine. Han Xiaoyun shook his head, the snowflakes around him swirling even more densely. No matter who I was or what I went through now, I am only the 16th seat of the believers, Han Xiaoyun. I can't go back. As his voice fell, his sea realm's spiritual power erupted completely, a terrifying pressure soaring into the sky. Qin Mai's hand gripping the sword handle trembled slightly. Due to the excessive force, his knuckles turned white. He stared intensely at the man holding the long spear in front of him, his heart filled with melancholy. After a moment he took a deep breath, slowly drawing the twin swords from his waist. I understand, he said calmly. I will show no mercy to the believers. In the gale, Han Xiaoyun's lips curled slightly. With the twin swords drawn, a faint ghostly light appeared in Qin Mai's eyes. A black large circle rapidly expanded from him, bringing an extreme coldness to the earth. In the black forbidden ruin behind Qin Mai, the outline of a blood-red palace appeared vaguely, and at the top of this palace an ancient and mysterious plaque hung. Yamahal. At the moment Qin Mai entered this forbidden ruin, his aura suddenly became deep and eerie. Lin Chia was also caught in Qin Mai's forbidden ruin. The chilling aura made him shiver involuntarily. This is Team Leader's Forbidden Ruin. Wu Xiangnan calmly stood beside Lin Chia. Forbidden Ruin Sequence 037, Black Wucheng. 037? Lin Chia was taken aback. Up to now, apart from Chao Yuan's Sequence 031 Black King's / this was almost the most dangerous Forbidden Ruin he had ever seen. He didn't expect the team leader to possess such a level of power. If the Forbidden Ruins before Sequence 030 belonged to the Divine level, then the 7th place under the Divine level, Black Wucheng, was definitely one of the top Forbidden Ruins in all of Great Xia. With such a high sequence Forbidden Ruin, the team leader should be in those special teams or the Night Watch teams in Shangjing City. How could he come to this small Cangnan city and become the team leader of Team 136? In front of the Yamahal, Qin Mai, holding twin swords, walked across the black water surface toward Han Xiaoyun. Han Xiaoyun stared blankly at the scene before him, and after a long while he finally reacted and said in shock. Black Wucheng? Our Qin Mai. Chapter 141. Chaotic Battle. Do you know me? Qin Mai's brows slightly raised. In the Night Watchers, is there anyone who doesn't know Qin Mai? Han Xiaoyun smiled, saying, 10 years ago the black and white impermanents from Shangjing City. Who didn't know about them? I thought that after so many years, there wouldn't be many who remember me. Among the younger generation indeed not many know you. But I joined the Night Watchers relatively early, so I have heard of your name, Han Xiaoyun said, his gaze filled with a hint of curiosity as he looked at Qin Mai. 10 years ago, Black Impermanence Qin Mai suddenly disappeared from Shangjing City, and his whereabouts became unknown. Some said you were dead and others said you had made a mistake and were sent to the Purification Center by the commander. I didn't expect you to come to this small place, Cangnan City, and become a team leader. Why? Because I want to. Han Xiaoyun frowned again. No. I remember that you were in Chuanjing before your disappearance. Now 10 years later, that white impermanence has become the leader of the Night Watchers team stationed in Shangjing City. Why are you still in Chuanjing? Qin Mai remained silent for a moment before shaking his head. It's not important. He stepped through the river of the underworld, advancing slowly towards Han Xiaoyun, with his twin blades humming like soul-reaping iron chains, mesmerizing and eerie. Han Xiaoyun was momentarily taken aback, then smiled. Indeed, whether he knew these things or not was no longer important to him. He swung his long spear, and the fierce wind mixed with snow tore open a corner of this underworld-like domain. His figure bent slightly, then suddenly shot forward. The tip of the spear cut through the river of the underworld, freezing a thin layer of ice on its surface. Han Xiaoyun's figure, like a dragon, swiftly arrived before Qin Mai. The wind and snow howled. Clay. The twin blades clashed with the long spear. Qin Mai was forced several steps back by Han Xiaoyun's impact. A glint of ghostly light flashed in his eyes as his form turned ethereal, mysteriously passing through the spear and slashing out with his straight blade. Han Xiaoyun was startled to see Qin Mai become a ghostly figure and quickly retreated. At the same time, a fierce wind burst from his body, attempting to deflect Qin Mai's blade. Though his reaction was quick, it was still a step too slow. Before he could deflect Chen Mai's blade, the edge had already left a shallow wound on his chest. Han Xiaoyun swept his long spear horizontally, sending invisible wind blades ravaging through the air, slicing past Chen Mai's body and cutting through the old buildings in the background. Whoosh! The wind blades sliced through the steel-reinforced concrete walls like tofu, leaving behind neat cut marks. Several buildings were severed in half, crashing to the ground with dust and debris rising. Chen Mai's cheek was also marked with a faint blood streak. You're strong, but in terms of realm you still can't match me. That's a hard fact, Han Xiaoyun said with a touch of regret. I know. Chen Mai remained calm and replied, that's why I didn't plan to defeat you alone. Before he could finish, a long spear engulfed in roaring flames descended from the sky. Boom! The spear struck the ground and rose-colored flames erupted like a storm, melting the surrounding snow into the air. Han Xiaoyun stood beside the spear, calmly observing Chen Mai and said, with this kind of attack you still can't defeat me. Bang! From the distant rooftops, a black gun barrel suddenly flared with blinding light. A slender bullet, moving so fast it seemed to pierce through space, reached Han Xiaoyun in the blink of an eye. Han Xiaoyun let out a soft exclamation and leaned back suddenly. The bullet grazed his forehead, leaving a faint burn on his skin. A special sniper bullet? He touched his forehead, somewhat surprised. Continuous sniper shots rang out. The bullets, seemingly with eyes of their own, accurately targeted Han Xiaoyun, forcing him to repeatedly move to dodge them. Meanwhile, Lin Jie turned to the still stationary Wu Xiangnan and asked, aren't you going to join? Well, Wu Xiangnan's lips curled in a bitter smile. He slowly raised his hands, each with a deep red wound. Right now I can't hold a blade anymore and my ability is rather special. It has to be used at a critical moment. Charging in recklessly now would only slow down the team leader and others, so. Lin Jie was silent for a moment before nodding. Then I'll go first. With that, an extreme darkness expanded from him, and his figure rapidly moved towards the battlefield. The recent battle with the Serpent Woman had drained him significantly. Even maintaining the absolute darkness domain was somewhat strenuous. After a brief rest, he had regained some of his mental energy and was finally ready to re-enter the fray. In the distance, Han Xiaoyun had evaded several bullets and swept away the long spear of Hong Ying. At this moment, Chen Mai's figure, like a phantom, suddenly appeared behind him with his blade flashing. Han Xiaoyun, caught off guard by Chen Mai's sudden appearance, was about to make a move when he felt a blur in front of his eyes. The once departed shadows reappeared before him. To outsiders, it looked as if black lines extended from his heart, encasing him like a cocoon trying to bind him. This was the heart demon binding technique. Han Xiaoyun realized the danger and forced his way through Wen Qima's ability with his mental energy. From a distance, Wen Qima staggered, spitting out a mouthful of blood, his face as pale as paper. Using Chuanjing's power to affect a Haijing powerhouse, the mental backlash was extremely severe. But in that brief moment of struggle, Chen Mai's blade struck heavily on Han Xiaoyun's back, leaving a jagged wound and a faint ghostly glow entering Han Xiaoyun's body. Han Xiaoyun turned around, sweeping his long spear to push Chen Mai back. In the next moment his consciousness began to fade, the wound on his back burned intensely, and his strength seemed to diminish significantly. He looked down at his hand, the skin dry and rough, and noticed several age spots had appeared. He looked up in astonishment at Chen Mai. Chen Mai, seemingly aware of his confusion, spoke slowly. Under the impermanence blade, the flesh can be cut, the soul can be cut, and so can one's lifespan. Cut the flesh, cut the soul, cut the lifespan. So this is what black impermanence means. Han Xiaoyun muttered to himself, a faint smile forming at the corner of his mouth. Perhaps today I really might die here. Whoosh! An expanse of darkness merged with Chen Mai's domain, and the two straight blades flew through the air, spinning towards Han Xiaoyun's neck. Han Xiaoyun, enduring the intense pain in his back, swung his hand to summon a fierce wind, knocking the two straight blades back. At the same time, a young figure leapt high into the darkness. The tip of his foot touched one of the straight blades, grabbing the other one and nimbly spinning in midair, he swung the blade towards Han Xiaoyun. Chapter 142, Rebirth. Clang. The long spear firmly blocked Lin Jie's straight blade. Han Xiaoyun was surrounded by a swirling gale, with wind blades closing in on Lin Chia from both sides like scissors. In the moment the wind moved, Lin Chia seemed to predict the trajectory of the wind blades. His body twisted in mid-air, avoiding the two wind blades. Boom! The flaming long spear charged again. Hong Ying, with her elegant brows raised, shouted sharply as the crimson spear tip drew out blooming patterns in the air. In the next moment, Qin Mai's figure appeared strangely behind Han Shaoyin, like an ominous executioner. His two blades silently slashed towards Han Shaoyin's neck. Facing attacks from three directions, even Han Shaoyin was starting to struggle. Moreover, with the troublesome Qin Mai among them, getting cut by him could mean not just death but also severe injury. Whoosh! From afar, Leng Xian seized the opportunity, firing his sniper rifle again. A bullet precisely avoided Lin Chia and the others, hitting Han Shaoyin's leg and splattering blood. With his lower body injured, Han Shaoyin's movements clearly slowed. Qin Mai seized the chance, briefly becoming intangible to evade the long spear and then landing two heavy slashes on Han Shaoyin. Pfft! Han Shaoyin spat out a mouthful of blood, his body visibly shriveling, the three burning wounds continuously searing his soul, making his consciousness somewhat fuzzy. He staggered to steady himself, letting out a low roar. The whirlwind around him surged, temporarily driving Lin Chia and the others back. At this moment, Wu Xiangnan dashed across the street like a gust of wind, braving the strong wind and embraced the unsteady Han Shaoyin. Lin Chia was stunned. Han Shaoyin was even more bewildered. After a brief daze, he tried to pull Wu Xiangnan away with all his strength. Run! Qin Mai shouted upon seeing this. Lin Chia and Hong Ying, initially confused, had their pupils suddenly contract when Wu Xiangnan's cloak was ripped open, revealing neatly packed explosive devices underneath. Fortunately, Qin Mai quickly ran to them, grabbing one in each hand and swiftly retreating. Wu Xiangnan tightly embraced Han Shaoyin, and as the three retreated, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He then resolutely pulled the thread on his chest. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, a massive mushroom cloud rose, and fierce flames burned on the street. Lin Chia and Hong Ying stared blankly at the scene, their entire bodies frozen in shock. Captain, what is this? Qin Mai patted their shoulders and reassured them, don't worry. Xiangnan's forbidden domain is rebirth. He has 12 chances to revive in the Chuanjing realm. He won't die. Rebirth. Lin Chia was genuinely astonished. There's such an outrageous forbidden domain in this world. No wonder Wu Xiangnan mentioned that his forbidden domain was special and needed to seize the opportunity. So, did he always fight using self-destruction? Hong Ying couldn't help but ask. No, Qin Mai shook his head slightly, his gaze fixed on the devastated road. A long time ago, before he got injured, he wasn't like this. Back then he was very strong. As the smoke gradually cleared, Wu Xiangnan emerged from the debris, coughing. He looked like a zombie from a movie that had been battered, making one's scalp tingle. However, astonishingly, his flesh quickly repaired itself and his body healed at a visible speed. In just 5 seconds he returned to his original state without a single scar. Wu Xiangnan lowered his head, looking at his hands. The deep red scars on his palms remained, and a hint of bitterness appeared in his eyes. Boom! The gale swept away the surrounding smoke. Wu Xiangnan looked back with a hint of helplessness and sighed. Having used up his last chance at rebirth, he still couldn't kill him. In the deep crater created by the explosion, a figure holding a long spear slowly stood up. Despite being covered in wounds and looking extremely disheveled, he was still alive. Han Shaoyin coughed as he stood, his gaze fixed on the unscathed Wu Xiangnan, showing a hint of shock. You're the immortal of the Blue Rain team. Bang! A bullet pierced through the air, shooting towards Han Shaoyin. Now he could no longer move as freely as before. Despite his efforts to adjust his position, the shot hit his shoulder. A sniper rifle is one of the few weapons that can injure high-level ability users. Almost, Han Shaoyin's feet appeared on a whirlwind, slowly lifting him into the air. He looked at Qin Mai calmly and said, "You were so close to killing me. Unfortunately, next I will show you the true Great Wind disaster." He slowly ascended into the sky, swinging his right hand to embed the long spear into the ground. The surrounding blizzard suddenly quieted down with no wind at all. Snowflakes drifted down as if it were another heavy snowfall. He cupped his hands in front of his chest, gradually bringing them together. A deep blue appeared in his palms, gently rotating and growing larger. It was a wind eye. On the ground, Chinmai's eyes narrowed slightly. Lin Chia's mental power swept over the wind eye, instantly sensing the terrifying power it contained. His expression grew serious. Once the wind eye fully forms, the swirling gale will easily tear apart your no-boundaries space and sweep through the entire Songnan city. Its power is enough to level half of the city. Han Xiaoyun looked down at Chinmai, seemingly wanting to say more but unable to articulate it. He frowned and said helplessly, "To fundamentally resolve the problem, you don't have much time left." Lin Chia was slightly taken aback by the last sentence. He wondered if he was overthinking, but he felt that Han Xiaoyun seemed to be hinting at something. Bang! A sniper bullet flew through the sky towards Han Xiaoyun. However, as it neared the wind eye, its speed suddenly slowed, as if an invisible wind barrier had formed around the wind eye, trapping it. Hong Ying raised her eyebrows and shot her long spear with rose-colored flames, which streaked across the sky like a shooting star. But as it approached the wind eye, it too slowed down and eventually bounced off. At this moment, Han Xiaoyun was surrounded by an absolutely invincible wind domain, and nothing could penetrate it. To fundamentally resolve the problem, Chinmai murmured these words, his brow furrowed, unable to understand. As everyone was at a loss, the wind eye in the sky grew larger and the hurricane centered on Han Xiaoyun began to spread out. Meanwhile, Shin Qingzhu, approaching the no-boundaries space with Bai Li Fadi and others, seemed to sense something. He lightly exclaimed, turning to look at the gathering wind eye. After hesitating for a moment, he slowly extended his right hand towards the distant sky and snapped his fingers. Chapter 143, Rules. The deep blue vortex that had been floating in Han Xiaoyun's palms suddenly vanished, as if it had never existed. The members of Team 136 were all momentarily stunned. Even Han Xiaoyun himself was bewildered. Where did the vortex go? What happened to such a large vortex? After a moment of daze, he looked up at Chinmai and the others, a hint of a smile appearing in his eyes. Well done, Chinmai. At this moment, Lin Chia seemed to have thought of something and looked into the distance. He saw a man in military uniform lift a corner of the voidless domain, golden ripples spreading across him as he stepped into it with a serious expression. Bai Li Pangpang, Chao Yuan and Shin Qingzhu obediently followed him. Bro, why did you snap your fingers just now? Bai Li Pangpang asked Shin Qingzhu with a puzzled look. Shin Qingzhu frowned, thought for a moment and then slowly said, "Instinct. Are you like Thanos or something?" Shin Qingzhu ignored Bai Li Pangpang's teasing. If it weren't for the fact that the other party was his boss, he might have started cursing by now. However, as a worker he had the awareness of a worker. Lin Chia's eyes brightened slightly upon seeing Shin Qingzhu, vaguely understanding what had just happened. The vortex created by Han Xiaoyun was, after all, just rapidly rotating compressed air, whereas Shin Qingzhu's Qi Min could control the air itself. For him, extracting air from a given range was a simple task. If the area were to be turned into a vacuum, would your vortex still exist? In simple terms, Shin Qingzhu was a perfect match for this. Even though Han Xiaoyun was a powerful sea realm expert, his Great Wine Disaster was more focused on disaster, and in terms of air control, it was far inferior to Shin Qingzhu's Qi Min. Perhaps that's why Great Wind Disaster is ranked 079, while Qi Min is 068. Yuan Gang's eyes narrowed as he watched Han Xiaoyun floating in the air. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and the next moment he appeared directly above Han Xiaoyun, clenched his right fist, and struck down with a golden ripple like a meteor falling. Boom! A muffled thunderous sound echoed as Han Xiaoyun was hammered down to the ground like a cannonball, creating a deep pit with a radius of several meters on the road, and thick smoke billowing up. Yuan Gang, like a humanoid war Buddha with golden light spreading all over his body and clothes flying, landed firmly before the pit where Han Xiaoyun was, his fists smashing into the pit like raindrops. Boom boom boom. The ground trembled and the cracks on the surface grew denser. By the time the entire street was about to collapse, Yuan Gang finally stopped his fists. He bent down, grabbed the barely breathing Han Xiaoyun by the collar and lifted him into the air. Former Night Watch squad leader of Suzhou City, now the 13th seat of Believers, Han Xiaoyun, Yuan Gang, dressed in spotless military attire, said expressionlessly, "You have fallen into my hands. For the rest of your life, go to the retreat center and repent." Hearing this, Han Xiaoyun, on the brink of death, trembled slightly as if wanting to say something. His blood-stained eyelids opened and a hint of despair and pleading appeared in his eyes. Yuan Gang frowned slightly. At this moment, a blade suddenly pierced through Han Xiaoyun's heart, with the blade tip protruding from his chest. Yuan Gang's pupils suddenly contracted. He jerked his head up, looking at Han Xiaoyun's back with a flash of anger in his eyes. "Captain Chen, what are you doing?" Chen Mai, cloaked and calmly standing behind Han Xiaoyun, slowly withdrew the straight knife that had pierced Han Xiaoyun's heart and said, "Killing. He is no longer a threat and is destined to be sent to the retreat center with life and death to be decided by the court. Why kill him? He wanted to kill my team members, so he must die." Chen Mai paused and continued, "Besides, it is also a kind of relief for him." Yuan Gang frowned and looked at Han Xiaoyun. Han Xiaoyun, with his head lowered and face covered in blood, actually showed a faint smile, and his dead eyes sparkled with a different kind of brilliance. Yuan Gang let go of his hand. Han Xiaoyun's body fell to the ground, blood flowing from his body. With his heart pierced, most people would have died long ago, but as a Sea Realm expert he still clung to life. He looked at Chen Mai, his lips moving as if trying to say something. Chen Mai hesitated for a moment, bent down and put his ear close to Han Xiaoyun's mouth. "Be careful," muttering. "He will definitely come back to kill that boy." As the last word was spoken, Han Xiaoyun's eyes gradually dimmed, and he breathed his last. After a long silence, Chen Mai straightened up, looked at the bloodied corpse lying in the snow and slowly closed his eyes. "Captain Chen, no matter what, this incident is against the rules," Yuan Gang said calmly, looking at the scene and speaking solemnly. "If you think what I did is against the rules, you can go to Xiaopinga to file a complaint." Chen Mai, indifferent, turned around and walked towards the other members of Team 136. "In Songnan, I, Chen Mai, am the rule." Yuan Gang watched Chen Mai's departing figure and sighed helplessly after a long time. This guy's temper is still so big. "Captain, what exactly was going on with Han Xiaoyun?" After retracting the voidless domain, Hong Ying approached Chen Mai with a puzzled look. Chen Mai was silent for a moment. Just a poor soul controlled by the ancient God Church. But it seems he really wanted to kill Chia. Can the ancient God Church really control people so completely? Hong Ying tilted her head and asked. Before Chen Mai could speak, Wu Xiangnan spoke up first. "I know quite a bit about the contracts of the ancient God Church. It is said that once signed, it binds to the soul and acts directly from the very essence of thought. In other words, even if they are actually dissatisfied with the orders they receive, they cannot refuse or obstruct the execution of the orders in any form. Actions, words, and even thoughts are all based on completing the orders. Isn't that like being a puppet? Pretty much, though some people willingly become puppets and enjoy it while others suffer terribly." Hearing this, Lin Chia frowned slightly and voiced his doubt. If that's the case, then why did the ancient God Church make Han Xiaoyun leave the Night Watch? Wouldn't it be more effective to pretend he wasn't controlled and embed him within the Night Watch? The others paused in their steps. Hong Ying gaped, staring at Lin Chia in shock. "Chia, your thinking is so dark. Isn't this the conventional thinking?" "Chia is right." Chen Mai nodded slowly. Although Han Xiaoyun did not remain in the Night Watch, it does not rule out the possibility that there are other believers infiltrating the Night Watch.